Hey everyone, I'm going to walk you through the Ibanez SRMS805 DTW, the 5-string multiscale bass that's been getting a lot of buzz lately. Before we dive in, just so you know, the link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. I'm not here to hype up the newest colorway, I'm here to figure out whether this instrument really lives up to the price tag and if it fits the kind of playing you actually do. A lot of bass players I talk to are stuck between the fear of buying something that feels great in the shop but turns out to be a compromise at home, and the temptation to chase the latest spec sheet without thinking about day-to-day use. So let's unpack the practical side of this bass, from what the hardware actually does for you to the little things that can make or break a gig or a practice session. First off, the most obvious thing about the SRMS805 is the multiscale neck. Ibanez calls it the fan frets design, and for a 5-string that means the low B side has a longer scale length while the high G side stays shorter. In real-world terms, that translates into tighter, more defined low notes without the floppiness you sometimes get on a standard 34-inch scale. If you're the type of player who spends a lot of time digging into the subgroove, the extra tension on the low strings can actually make fingerboards feel less mushy and more responsive. On the flip side, the multiscale does require a tiny adjustment in your left-hand technique. The frets aren't parallel, so you'll notice a slight angle shift as you move up the neck. Most players adapt within a few rehearsals, but if you're a strict one-size-fits-all fretting style, you might feel that adjustment more keenly. The neck itself is a 5-piece jatoba/walnut construction. Those tone woods are known for delivering a balanced resonance that's neither too bright nor too dark. In practice, that gives you a nice mid-range punch that works well in both rock-oriented funk grooves and smoother, more melodic lines. Because it's a 5-piece neck, you also get a bit more stability. The neck is less prone to warping under humidity changes. If you travel with your bass or gig in venues with unpredictable climates, that added rigidity can save you a lot of headaches. The downside is that the neck feels a touch heavier than a typical 3-piece design, which may be noticeable if you're used to ultralight necks for marathon sets. Now let's look at the body. The top is made from Poplar Burl, with Walnut and Mahogany forming the core. This combination gives the instrument a fairly tight, focused tone. In my own experience, the Poplar Burl contributes a clear, articulate attack that cuts through a mix without sounding harsh, while the Walnut/Mahogany blend adds warmth to the lower frequencies. The deep Twilight finish is a dark, almost anthracite hue that looks sleek on stage, but more importantly it's a matte finish. That matte surface reduces glare under stage lights, which is a subtle but appreciated benefit when you're trying to keep the focus on the music rather than your instrument's sparkle. The fingerboard is bound Panga wood with an acrylic special inlay. The binding not only looks refined, but it also protects the edges of the board from wear, a practical detail for players who frequently use the extreme ends of the fretboard. The medium frets are a sweet spot for most styles. They're not so low that you risk buzzing on aggressive attack, nor are they so high that chord work becomes cumbersome. That balance makes the bass feel comfortable whether you're playing slap, fingerstyle, or using a pick. The MR5S bridge is another piece worth noting. With a 16.5 mm string spacing, it's a bit wider than the traditional 15 mm you see on classic 4-string models. For a 5-string, that extra width means the strings sit a touch further apart, which can help reduce unwanted string contact, especially important in fast fingerstyle passages or when you're doing tapping tricks. The bridge also allows for fine intonation adjustments, so you can dial in precise tuning across the full range. If you're a pedalboard-heavy player, the ability to set intonation accurately is a real time saver. You won't have to constantly retune after you add a new effect that pushes the low end. One concern that pops up when looking at any Ibanez SR series is the pickup configuration. The SRMS805 typically comes with a single humbucker in the bridge position. That placement gives a punchy, articulate sound that works great for modern funk and rock. However, if you like having a warm, neck position tone for smoother passages, you might feel limited without a dual pickup setup. In practice, many players end up using an external preamp or a pedal with tone shaping controls to compensate for that single pickup limitation, which adds a small extra cost but gives you flexibility. So, if you're comfortable adding a pedal to your rig, the single humbucker won't be a deal-breaker. If you prefer a more straightforward, plug-and-play sound, you might want to consider a bass with a dual-coil layout.